Hello everyone, it's Friday, and as you know, Friday it's all about Freedom Fridays right here at Talks with Mwavali. Now this Friday, as you know, every month I'm been building this habit of reading a book. So in the month of September I was reading one amazing book, and this book is The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Now I first read the book Atomic Habits. I was trying to build habits that will stick, long-term habits that can help me change my life. I shared with you things I've picked from the book in one of the videos. Now, that was in the month of August. So in the month of September, I started reading the book The Psychology of Money so that I can build that correct mindset of money, because most of us are raised in backgrounds that have these ill behavior or let me just say they generate ill environment when it comes to money and money topics. So this is one of the most amazing books. Someone told me, or someone recommended to me, that you should read this book if you wanna change how you view money or your perspectives when it comes to money. Now today I wanna share with you the lessons I've picked from this book, because I've realized there are very two key topics in this world that carry a lot of emotions. One is health and the second is money. So when trying to build this thing that is around money, people tend to have a lot of emotions. And the author of this book, who is called Morgan Housel, says that doing well with money has little to do with how smart you are and a lot to do with how you behave. And when reading this book, I really got to understand why I did a very perfect decision to start reading Atomic Habits first by James Clear before coming to read this book, The Psychology of Money. You see, he tells us in the book that financial success is not a hard science to understand, but it's a soft skill where how we behave is more important than what we know. So today in this episode, I just want to ask you one question. What is the role of habits when it comes to building wealth and money? Now, in this episode, I'm going to break down this analysis into 4 key concepts. Number 1, I'm going to share with you the key concept that I've picked from this book. After that, I'm going to share with you how you're going to do well with money, the ideas and the principles that Morgan Housel gives us when we want to do well with money. Then I will share with you his ideology of spending versus saving. And then I'll also share with you a bonus thing, which is how to manage money, a concept that I pick from this book. Ready to get it rolling? Let's get it started.
Talks with Mwavali podcast, where we get real with finances and tap inside the economics of power.
So, on the key concepts that you pick from this book, the first concept is the concept of no one is crazy. You see, the author says in this book that people from different generations, raised by different parents, who earned different incomes and held different values in different parts of the world, born into different economies, experiencing different job markets with different incentives and different degrees of luck, learn very different lessons when it comes to life. And this brings me to this concept. How I was born, or where I was born, how I was raised up, will automatically contribute, let's say, approximately 10 or 20% of how I view this world. So there are times in life whereby you view someone like he's crazy because of the ideas and the perspectives that he has in life. But one thing we don't understand or we don't comprehend as people is that no one is crazy. A person is just depicting the things he has picked from the environment that built him up when he was a child. You see, each and every person in this world has their own ideas, has their own concept of how the world works. And whichever concept a person has is the concept that the person was being able to be brought up in. You cannot expect the concept you possess as John to be the same concept Mary will possess. Michael Batnick says in his book that some lessons have to be experienced before they are understood, and how you experience life is not the same way another person will experience life. There are those people who are born into wealth, there are those people who are taught business at a young age, and there are those people who will now teach themselves wealth and also how they teach themselves business after they have grown up. So the first key concept that I pick from the book is that no one is crazy. The second concept I pick from the book is the concept of luck versus risk. Okay? Robert Schuller, who is a Nobel Peace Prize winner of economics, was once asked, "What do you want to know about investing that you don't know?" And you know what this man said? This man said, "I want to understand the exact role of luck in successful outcomes." Most of us will hear people say that, "Oh, that person was lucky, became wealthy. That person was lucky, became wealthy." But now, what is the role of luck? And also, what is the role of risk when it comes to building wealth? Everybody will tell you that you have to risk to build wealth. So what is the role of these two? You see, the author in this book, that is Morgan Housel, tells us that the doors that open for you and the quality of education that you receive are heavily linked to your parents' socioeconomic status, which is a very true concept from the book, that if your parents are able to afford a minimum level of education, that is what they'll give you as a person. If your parents are able to afford a high level of education, that's what they give a child. So whatever the quality of education you had, whether you went to a small school, whether you went to a medium school, whether you went to an international school, is tied to the socioeconomic status of your parents. Your parents are able to provide to you whatever they are able to afford at that period of time. So when you are trying to be in life, to grow up in life, we usually admire people. But now the concept I picked from Morgan Housel is that be careful who you admire and praise, and also be careful who you look down upon and wish to avoid becoming. Have you ever been in a position in life whereby you're like, I don't want to be like a certain person? But we are to be careful, number one, whom we admire, because we don't know what this person has done to build what he is today. And also we don't know what this other person is doing for him to be what he is today. So the author in this book warns us, when it comes to luck and risk, you should be very careful whom you admire and who you look down upon. You need to focus less on specific individual and case studies, but you need to focus more on broad patterns of perspectives. If you want to build wealth, it's not about luck. Sometimes it's about you studying the systems that are there in the current society for you to understand the concept of building wealth at that point in time. So sometimes you understanding that luck and risk are like two brothers. Let me just say they are two brothers. Like luck and risk are two brothers when it comes to building wealth. It will be the first step for you to understanding that if I'm going to build wealth, I need to do this and I need to do this, I need to do this. Bill Gates was asked, and Bill Gates says that success is a lousy teacher. It seduces smart people into thinking they can't lose. And if luck brought you success, you need to believe that his cousin risk can be the turning point for your story. I've ever seen someone who is lucky to win a jackpot. Now let me explain this in the terms that I personally understood after reading this book. I've ever seen someone who has won a jackpot. In Kenya tumekuwa na wase wengi sana who have won the SportPesa mega jackpot, 274 million, 300 million. Who are these people? The concept of luck and risk. You are lucky to win a jackpot, but what about the concept of risk? Did you apply the concept of risk to the jackpot you won for you to build wealth? So the moment you are trying to learn about money, you need to understand the concept of luck and risk when it comes to you building wealth. The third key concept that I picked from the book is the concept of never enough. Never enough the author is trying to tell us that at what point should you stop as a human being? Okay, we usually ask ourselves that question, or we rarely even ask ourselves that question. You see, there seems to be no limit today on what is enough. You just want to amass wealth, you want to continue amassing wealth. And there is no reason for you to risk what you have and need for what you don't have and don't need. And the concept of us not knowing when to say it's enough is where we now get ourselves risking what we have and what we need to get what we don't have and we don't need. For instance, at this point in life, it's like I am not in so much dire need of a car. So why should I risk what I have right now to getting what I don't have and I don't need currently? So these are the things that you try to weigh when you are trying to build the concept of money around. And the author tells us in the book that the hardest financial skill is getting to know when to stop the goalpost from moving. You have set a goal that by the end of this year I need to be financially stable, making 50,000 a month. Then you achieve this goal. of making 50,000 a month. You set a new goal that I want now to double my income to 100,000. You achieve this goal, then you realize you have built a business empire that is making you a 100 million return every month. Okay? Then someone comes with a very brilliant idea and tells you, by the way, I have an idea that can make this 100 million turn to 500 million. And you, since you don't know to keep the concept of enough, to actually accumulate the idea of this is my limit for right now, like this year I'm comfortable at this point, you are going to risk this 100 million that you have income every month, trying to get the 500 million. So when you're trying to build money, when you're trying to build wealth, let's learn to understand when to say it's enough. The next concept I pick from, which is a key concept from the book, is the concept of getting wealthy and staying wealthy. Two different things that contradict each other. Most of us want to get wealthy, but have we asked ourselves, how am I going to remain wealthy? Okay, because a lot of people become wealthy. You'll meet someone who tells you, I was in a job that I earned 200,000 every month, or I was in a position whereby in a year my returns were 100 million. And then after like his years in service or her years in service, she has nothing to show with that money. Okay, where did that money go to? So there are these two concepts that you need to understand. Number one is getting wealthy, and number two is staying wealthy. Getting money requires risk, being optimistic and putting yourself out there if you want to make money. But now, keeping this money requires the opposite of taking risk. What does it require? Number one, it requires humility and fear that what you have made today can be taken away from you tomorrow as fast as it came. Number two, it requires fragility and an acceptance that at least some of what I have made today is attributed to luck. So the moment you understand the concept of keeping wealth, actually this is a concept I was listening to a podcast, Financially Incorrect podcast, and I picked this concept there. And also this same concept is shared by Dr. Kingori in his podcast, that it is one thing to make money, it is another thing to retain the money. Okay, so I believe personally what I picked from this book, making money is not very important, okay, but now keeping the money is very important. It's something that I should really figure out, how am I going to keep my money? So it's not about making money, it's about keeping the money. Nassim Taleb says that having an edge and surviving are two different things. The first requires the second, and you need to avoid ruin at all costs. So we need to understand the concept of getting wealthy versus staying wealthy for us to build that wealth. The last key concept that I pick from this book, and this one hit me hard. By the way, ilikuwa kitu yenye nilikaa chini, I thought of it. And this thing is that wealth is not what you see. You see, the author says that there is no faster way to feel rich than to spend a lot of money on really nice things. But the way to be rich is to spend money you have and not to spend money you don't have. Rananga, I believe the concept of that whatever people show us that, I'm wealthy, is not what being wealthy means. Someone said money does not make noise. Actually, pesa itakangi kelele. Kuna msali niambia, by the way, do haitakangi kelele. Pesa ni kitu ingine funny sana. It just needs a silent place to relax. So sometimes making noise online about money is not someone making money, okay? But rather it is, let's just say it's, how do you say? It's a show off, okay? It's a show off of, I have money and I want you people to believe money. But the real people who have money, you will never see them make noise. So wealth is the vacations missed. Wealth is the Lamborghini someone missed to buy, the Lexus someone missed to buy, the Prado you missed to buy. Someone can actually buy a Mazda 2 at 1.3 million when he has the capacity to buy a Prado LC300 at 20 million. Or a person can buy a Mazda CX-5 at 3 million. Yet he has the capability of buying a Lexus LX600 at 22 million. So the real wealth is this LX600 that you are not able to see, not the Mazda CX-5 that you are able to see. That is the concept I picked from this book. So sometimes if uko na capability ya kubuy ndege, for instance, kama OG Khaligraph Jones, he has the capability to buy a jet. But now what is real wealth? Real wealth is Khaligraph buying a helicopter instead of buying a jet. So wealth is what we don't see, okay? And what we see is something that someone has decided to show you. So those are the key concepts I picked from the book, The Psychology of Money by Morgan Housel. Now let's get into the second bit of the book, that is doing well with money. And when it comes to doing well with money, kuna kuangana vitu mbili. Kuna kuangana rich versus wealthy, okay? Rich is about income. Being wealthy is about financial assets and discipline. So if your mindset is set to, I want to get a job to earn an income, and another person's mindset is set to, I want to get from the money I'm making from my income, I want to get assets. I want to buy land, I want to build this, I want to build this. The person who has the mindset of an income, that I want to work till I get 60 years old, I retire, then I get a pension. And the person who says that I want to get assets that will make me money, and then I retire by the age of 25 or 30. The person who has the income mindset is rich, but the person who has the assets mindset is very wealthy. So sometimes doing well with money is not about income, it's not about being rich, it's about being wealthy. I talked to my mom the other day and I told mom, I'm not coming back home until I know I'm very wealthy or I've made a step into getting my wealth achievement. And then she asked me, what is your target? Anyway, story for another day. The second thing, and this thing, when I was talking to my mom, she also gave me the same advice. Then nikakumbuka nilisoma kwa The Psychology of Money, is something called the margin of safety. The margin of safety is the ability to stick to your strategy, okay? The ability to stick to a strategy that matters more than the strategy itself. Okay, wait. Okay, and actually when I was talking to my mom, she gave me the same advice, na nikitu nilikumbuka nilisoma kwa kitabu, and it's something called the margin of safety. The margin of safety ni ile kitu ya, it's the ability to stick to a strategy, okay? You stick to this strategy and until this strategy works. Na also ni concept nilipoona wa jamaa na best yangu anafanyanga forex, na pia ndo jamaa anafunzanga forex. So hii kitu ni hii, you cannot learn today. Let me use strategies of forex. Kuna kuanga na smart money concept, alafu kuna kuanga na ICT. So you cannot try today smart money uone hai work, kesho try ICT uone hai work, uchange tena kuja na nyingine. This is the thing, you need to stick to this strategy. Kama ume decide utatumia ICT strategy, you need to stick to this strategy until this strategy works for you. Like you just need to figure out a million ways to make his strategy ya ICT work. Na hilo kitu masangu aliniambia, my mom told me this, that if you are going to build wealth, I know it's something that sija grow up like in the environment of money. Actually my money experience, or I'll share it next Friday. I promise you next Friday I'll share with you my money lessons growing up. Okay, my money lessons growing up. So mimi niki grow up, kuna venye kwetu story ya do ilikuwa ngani, there is no money. Unaona? So dad alikuwa anashinanga anatuambia hakuna do. Even my mama alikuwa anatuambia by this sina pesa. Na kuna venye pia your mindset ilikuwa inani affect. That's why I had someone told me, by the way unaona vile tulilelewa, hebu try ku read book ku change mindset yako ya do. So this is the thing, when it comes to the margin of safety, my mama aliniambia this thing, that son, I want you to do this, I want you to come up with a plan and you send me the plan. Bado sijamtumia plan, tamtumia next week. Aliniambia nimtumie plan ya vitu nataka kufanya to make sure I'm getting from 0 to 10,000 USD income in the next 6 months. Then akaniambia kwa hiyo strategy yote yenye naenda ku make sure nime involve God. That's what my mom told me. So alikuwa ananiambia margin yangu ya safety ni moja. So this is what my mom told me. Derek, your margin of safety is going to be 1. Number 1, plan yako ya kuget do. Alafu the second thing itakuwa ni God. So God atakuwa on your right, then hii side nyingine itakuwa ni strategy. So mimi niko hapa katikati. So kitu nitakuwa niko within the margin of my safety, which brings me to the third thing about doing well with money, and this is about freedom. Freedom is being able to control my time, and this is something that is the most highest dividend money can pay. Okay, why am I saying this? Freedom inaka mingi ile time yenye una decide unaweza fanya kila anything without being restricted or you feeling that something is going to lag behind. Okay, so when trying to come up with my margin of freedom, I realized that I need to build something that is going to give me freedom at the long run, which brings me to the last concept of doing well with money. After you build margin of safety, then you make a build freedom, you need to have something called you and me. Okay. Yeah, you and me. You and me. So you and me is that you need to be aware, taking financial cues from people playing a different game from you. Now, ini concept yenye ujamaa Morgan Housel anatupea kwa book that, for instance, me I'm into social media management, YouTube and forex trading. Then I'm going to take advice from someone who's doing something that is different from the game that I'm playing. You see, bank people who have done finance can advise you, but also at the same time inafikanga point kutafuta financial advisor, unapatanga kuna financial advisor ame specify na investing, kuna ule mwenye ame specify na saving. So you need to understand that who am I taking advice to. Okay, says you take advice from someone mwenye ha play game in a play. I'm into forex. Okay, I cannot take advice from someone who's not doing forex, because what are you trying to tell me? Which brings me to the third concept from the book, The Psychology of Money. If you watched this video to this far, kindly don't forget to hit the subscribe button. Leo Freedom Friday, leo imejaa knowledge and wisdom. So let's continue learning. Back to the video. So the third concept that you pick from the book is the concept of spending versus saving. Na inakuanga kitu ilikuwa inani affect by then nikiwa mtoi mdogo hadi saa hii. Uko na thao or your income is 10k. I told you guys I used to do a job when I was in campus. I was earning something roughly like 20k. So your income is 10k. What will you spend and what will you save? Number one concept that you pick from the book, tail events. Tail events, there are a small number of events that account for the majority of your outcomes. Ni vitu gani ndogo ndogo zenye wewe unafanya and then they impact your finances very hugely. Inaweza kuwa ni kupati, buying unnecessary gifts. For instance, I had this weakness. I had a weakness of gifting people until I've stopped, okay? Because I see something nice, I feel like by the way my friend needs this. And nobody has ever gifted me except one or two people. So these small events that generate an outcome, you need to audit them all for you to understand where you are spending your money. Which brings us to the second concept of saving money. Now, saving money, you see, the author says in the book that building wealth has little to do with income or investment returns and a lot to do with saving. So we need to learn to understand that sometimes si lazima ukuwe na goal that I'm saving to buy a car, I'm saving to go to school, you can just decide to save money, okay? Like saving is another way of you ensuring that your financial security is guaranteed. And this brings me to two things: being reasonable and being rational. You need to aim to be reasonable when you are saving, not rational when you are saving. And also even when you're making a financial decision, you need to be reasonable and not rational. And at the same time, you need to leave something called room for error. Room for error ni ile umepiga kitu but umerealize kunaweza kuwa na ka mistake ka kitu kufanyika. Na hapo ndio concept ya saving. Actually, I totally bought it fully. Nilibangi concept ya saving fully when I realized that I need to leave a room for error. So kuna this time I was sick and I needed to go do some test na sikuwa na do. So don't spend your time, ilikuwa don't nilikuwa nimesave. Nikakumbuka by the way kuna kuanga na room for error. You can plan out your budget for the month, pay all the things that you need to pay for that month. Then ukuja realize by the way kuna kuanga na room for error. Hii mwezi naweza kuwa msick. Hii mwezi mtu yeye anaweza kuwa msick. Like you need to have this room for error when it comes to saving and spending. So number one, come up with the tail of events that take money from your pocket, because what you're trying to do is trying to keep money in the pocket. After you come up na hiyo, now come up with the margin of error or the room for error. Like when you are planning your things, remember it's not just saving. Ukanaweza sema una save, then you're just saving for the room of error. Now, this brings me to the last bit of this video today, and that is how to manage money. When it comes to manage money, you need to know one thing, and it's something I picked from this book. The most important part of a plan is planning on your plan, not going according to plan. Yeah. To be honest, Let me give you a story. So I had planned that I'll resume YouTube last month because I'd taken a break. I was coming to Nairobi, so I needed a break. I needed to settle down. So I decided I'll return to YouTube last month, and I said when I come back, I'll be doing podcasts. Okay? So when I came, I realized I didn't get the opportunity to do podcasts. So number one, I had a plan, but my plan did not go according to plan. So hiyo ni concept yenye hadi inakamingi kwa do. So going forward, I decided that if I'm going to have money, hadi kama niko na income, okay? The first thing is that whatever plan I have in my head, is that I'm going to plan that the plan I have is not going according to plan. So those are the key concepts that I picked from the book, The Psychology of Money. If you are looking for a book to read about money or where to start about money, I can tell you this is the number one book that you should read before you read other books. And as I told you, every month tutakuwa naletea edition moja ya books tumesoma. So this is a book that I'll recommend. You can start with Atomic Habits, learn how to build habits. We have the cue, the craving. You remember those things that we shared on the other video, and then now into the strong habit formation. Pale utapata foundations of building a new habit. After you have read that book, come and read this book. It will really help you changing the psychology you have about money. And up to that point, I want to thank each and every person who has watched this video till this far. If you have gotten something that you have picked from what we have shared today, leave us a comment in the comment section. You can get these books in the streets of Nairobi. Also, you can buy them online at Nuria bookstores. They do countrywide delivery, and they'll get you the book to where you are.
Talks with Moavali podcast, where we get real with finances and tap inside the economics of power.